Picture this: you wake up in the middle of the night. The room is flooded in an unnatural glow, your body paralyzed, and hovering above you are eyes so black and endless they seem to swallow the very thought of escape. You try to scream, nothing comes out. And then, in an instant, you're gone. Lifted out of your bed, into a blinding light, never knowing if you'll come back. And look, I get it. Some of you are already rolling your eyes. Abductions? Please. But if aliens really are traveling light years across the galaxy just to poke humans with needles, can we at least agree they should buy us dinner first? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most astonishing alien abduction stories ever recorded. But this isn't just another scary campfire tale. Because hidden in the details, strange, consistent details repeated across thousands of cases, are possible clues about where aliens actually come from. So buckle up. Whether you're a believer, a skeptic, or just here to laugh at humans being poked by space doctors, this is a story you don't want to miss. Alien abductions. Few topics in the UFO world stir as much debate, ridicule, and fascination. They've been portrayed in movies, mocked in late-night comedy sketches, and dismissed by scientists for decades. But here's the thing: despite the ridicule, reports of alien abductions keep coming in. Not just from the tinfoil hat crowd, either. We're talking about doctors, police officers, military pilots, even entire groups of people who swear they've been taken. And what's more, these stories often share bizarrely consistent details. The bright light. The paralysis. The black-eyed figures. The medical experiments. The cryptic messages about Earth's future. Now, skeptics have explanations, of course. Sleep paralysis. False memories. The influence of pop culture. And sure, that makes sense, until you realize people were reporting these details before they ever appeared in movies, before the alien abduction. Let's rewind to the 1960s. The space race was heating up. UFO sightings were in the news, Cold War paranoia was everywhere, and the idea of little green men was mostly seen as cartoonish nonsense. But in 1961, everything changed with the story of Betty and Barney Hill. The Betty and Barney Hill case, 1961. The Hills were an ordinary married couple from New Hampshire. He was a postal worker, she was a social worker. Not exactly the type of people looking for attention. One night, while driving home from a vacation in Canada, they saw a strange light in the sky. At first, they thought it was a plane. But the light kept following them, moving in ways no aircraft should. Eventually, the object swooped so close that Barney pulled over, grabbed his binoculars, and claimed he saw humanoid figures looking down at them from the craft. Terrified, they sped away. But then, it gets weirder. The Hills later realized they couldn't account for 2 hours of missing time. Their watches had stopped working. Their clothes were strangely damaged. And both felt an overwhelming sense of confusion and dread. Months later, under hypnosis, Betty and Barney described being taken aboard a craft, subjected to medical exams, and shown strange star maps. Betty even described the aliens showing her a map of where they came from, later matched by some to the star system's Zeta Reticuli. Now, skeptics say hypnosis can create false memories. But the consistency of their accounts, combined with physical evidence like broken watches and scuffed shoes, made their story impossible to dismiss entirely. And here's the kicker: this was 1961. Abduction tropes weren't part of mainstream culture yet. The Hills essentially created the modern abduction template without ever meaning to. Comedic beat. Narrator. And by the way, if aliens really did travel from Zeta Reticuli just to jab Barney with medical probes, that is the most disappointing interstellar road trip in history. The rise of abduction reports. After the Hill case, reports started pouring in. Suddenly, all across the U.S., people were claiming they'd been taken from their bedrooms, cars, and campsites. And the details? Almost always the same. Paralysis. Bright lights. Strange beings, most often the now iconic Greys. Cold, clinical medical procedures. And in some cases, warnings about Earth's future. By the 1970s and 80s, abduction accounts had become so widespread that support groups formed for experiencers. Yes, actual support groups. People were so shaken by what they claimed had happened that they sought therapy, hypnosis, and community. And psychologists found something interesting. While skeptics could explain some cases as sleep paralysis or fantasy-prone personalities, many abductees weren't mentally ill. They were regular people who genuinely believed something had happened. Comedic tone. Narrator. And honestly, if you're making up a story, wouldn't you go with something a little more glamorous? Like, yeah, I was abducted, but don't worry, the aliens taught me quantum physics and now I run NASA. Instead they paralyzed me, poked me, and then dumped me back in my pajamas. Not exactly bestseller material. Patterns across the world. Now here's where it gets really strange. These stories aren't just American. In Brazil, 1957, farmer Antonio Villas Boas claimed he was taken aboard a craft, experimented on, and even forced into a sexual encounter with an alien woman. In Australia, 1978, pilot Frederick Valentic disappeared mid-flight after reporting a UFO hovering above him. In England, entire families have reported abduction-like experiences. Different countries, different cultures, same eerie details. And here's the hard-hitting part. How do we explain such consistent reports from people who never met, never compared notes, and often lived in places without heavy sci-fi media influence? Of all the alien abduction accounts ever recorded, few have stirred as much controversy, investigation, and sheer fascination as the story of Travis Walton. If you've ever doubted alien abductions were more than just sleep paralysis or late-night hallucinations, this case will make you pause. Police car light the night of November 5, 1975. It was a chilly evening in the mountains of Arizona. 7 men were driving home from a long day of logging in the Sitgreaves National Forest. Among them was 22-year-old Travis Walton, a young man with a reputation as hardworking, reliable, and, importantly, not prone to wild stories. As the crew's truck rumbled down the dark dirt road, they noticed a strange glow filtering through the trees. At first, they thought it was a fire. But as they drove closer, the glow resolved into something far stranger, a massive, disc-shaped craft hovering silently in the forest clearing. Narrator. And look, if you've ever been camping in the woods, you know, every sound is already terrifying. Now imagine looking up and seeing a UFO the size of a house just chilling between the trees. At that point, I'm not sure if I'd scream, faint, or ask if they've got Wi-Fi. The men stopped the truck. Travis, impulsive and curious, jumped out to get a closer look. The others shouted at him to get back, but before they could react, a beam of blinding blue light shot out of the craft, striking Travis square in the chest. He flew backward, hit the ground, and lay completely still. Panic erupted. The crew, thinking their friend had just been killed by a UFO, sped off down the mountain road, missing for 5 days. Now, here's where things go from spooky to absolutely astonishing. When the loggers returned later with police to find Travis, he was gone. Completely vanished. No body. No footprints. Just gone. For the next 5 days, search parties scoured the mountains. Police suspected foul play. The remaining 6 crew members were even accused of murder. After all, who's going to believe? Our buddy got zapped by a UFO. As an excuse for someone disappearing? The men took polygraph tests. And here's the kicker, 5 out of 6 passed. 1 test came back inconclusive. None showed deception. Think about that. If they'd all cooked up a hoax or covered up a murder, they would have had to fool professional polygraph examiners under immense pressure. Comedic beat. Narrator. And listen, I don't know about you, but I can't even lie about eating the last slice of pizza without my heart rate spiking. These guys would have had to be Olympic-level liars. Then, on the night of November 10th, 5 days after vanishing, Travis Walton reappeared. Travis's story? Travis later recounted what he remembered during those missing days. He said he woke up inside a strange, sterile room. At first, he thought he was in a hospital. But as his vision cleared, he realized he was surrounded by beings that were anything but human. They were small, frail-looking creatures with large, bald heads and oversized black eyes, the classic Greys. They tried to approach him, but Travis panicked, grabbed a nearby object, and swung it at them to keep them away. The beings left, and Travis wandered into another room, this one containing what looked like a large, reclining chair with controls. When he sat in it, the room's ceiling became transparent, revealing a view of stars and space. Eventually, Travis claimed he encountered another figure, this time, human-like. Tall, blonde, and eerily perfect. The figure wore a helmet and never spoke, but led Travis deeper into the craft, where other human-like beings placed an oxygen-like mask over his face. The next thing he remembered? Waking up on the side of a highway, disoriented, watching the UFOs silently ascend and vanish into the sky. The fallout. The Walton case exploded in the media. It became one of the most publicized abduction stories in history, spawning books, documentaries, and even the 1993 Hollywood film Fire in the Sky. But here's the important part: despite skeptics' attempts to debunk it, the case has never been fully explained. The polygraphs, 5 of 6 loggers passed when asked if they saw Travis struck by the UFO beam. The missing time: Travis was gone for 5 whole days. No trace of him in the wilderness. His condition: when found, he was dehydrated, malnourished, and visibly traumatized. Consistency: Travis's story has remained remarkably consistent for decades, even under tough questioning. Skeptics argue hypnosis, fantasy, or group hoax. But the polygraph results alone keep this case standing tall in UFO lore. Light comedic relief. Narrator: now, could this all be a hoax? Sure, anything's possible. But let's be honest, if I were faking an alien abduction, I'd at least make myself sound cooler. Yes, I was taken aboard, learned advanced alien martial arts, and now I can teleport. Instead, Travis was like, yeah, they poked me with stuff and put a mask on my face. Not exactly Marvel superhero material. Why this case matters? The Travis Walton case matters because it checks all the boxes that skeptics usually use to dismiss abductions. Too vague? Nope. 7 witnesses saw the craft. Hallucination? Hard to hallucinate for 5 straight days while hiding in the woods. Lying for fame? The crew actually faced ridicule, suspicion, and accusations of murder. Fame wasn't exactly a reward. And here's where it ties into our bigger theme. Travis reported 2 different kinds of beings, the small greys, and the tall, human-like figures. This duality shows up in other abduction accounts too, and might just hint at the origins of these beings. Other astonishing cases: the Allagash abductions. Just 1 year later, in 1976, another chilling case emerged: the Allagash abductions. 4 men went camping in the Allagash wilderness of Maine. On their second night, while night fishing in a canoe, they saw a bright object hover silently over the lake. The craft blasted them with a beam of light, and the next thing they knew, they were back at their campsite, with hours of missing time. Later, under hypnosis, all 4 men described nearly identical experiences of being taken aboard the craft, undergoing medical experiments, and seeing the same gray-like beings. Narrator: and listen, I've been camping before. The scariest thing I ever saw was a raccoon stealing my marshmallows. If a UFO had zapped me, I'd still be crying about it today. What makes the Allagash case so compelling is the number of witnesses. 4 people, all telling the same story, decades later. The common threads. Both the Walton and Allagash cases share the hallmarks of classic abductions. Blinding light. Missing time. Medical procedures. Gray aliens, sometimes accompanied by taller, human-like beings. And both raise the same disturbing question: if these people are lying or delusional, why do their stories line up so perfectly with thousands of other abduction accounts worldwide? This brings us to the bigger question: the why. Why are these beings so obsessed with humans? Why the experiments? Why the warnings? And most importantly, what do these astonishing cases reveal about where aliens might actually come from? So if we take these stories seriously, even just for the sake of argument, what do they tell us about the origins of these beings? Where are they from? And how in the universe are they even getting here? Theory 1. The extraterrestrial hypothesis. The most obvious theory: these are beings from another planet. Many abductees describe being shown star maps or feeling a sense of the aliens' cosmic origin. Betty Hill, remember, claimed she was shown a map pointing to Zeta Reticuli, a binary star system about 39 light-years away. 39 light-years might not sound like much, but with our current technology, it's impossible. Even the fastest spacecraft humanity has ever built would take tens of thousands of years to reach it. So how could they be here? Scientists speculate about warp drives and wormholes, ways to bend spacetime so the journey isn't about speed, but about shortcuts through the fabric of the universe. Comedic tone. Narrator. Basically, imagine folding a piece of paper so 2 points touch. That's a wormhole. Now imagine trying to explain that to your Uber driver while he's just trying to get you home from Taco Bell. But seriously, if advanced civilizations are millions of years older than us, their technology could be so far beyond ours that what looks like magic to us might be routine to them. Theory 2. The interdimensional hypothesis. Another possibility is that aliens aren't traveling across space at all. Instead, they're slipping between dimensions. Think of it like this: humans perceive the universe in 3 dimensions, with time as the 4th. But what if other dimensions exist that we simply can't sense? If these beings can move through them, appearing and disappearing at will, it might explain why UFOs are so elusive, blinking in and out, defying physics, vanishing in an instant. And if that's true, abductions might not be space travel events at all. They could be interdimensional incursions. Comedic beat. Narrator. Which honestly makes me feel a little better. Because the idea of aliens traveling light years just to poke us is kind of insulting. But interdimensional travelers poking us? That's just advanced science bullying. Theory 3. Future humans, time travelers. Here's where it gets even weirder. Some researchers suggest that aliens are actually future humans. Think about it. The large heads, big eyes, frail bodies. They're what some scientists say humans could evolve into after millennia of brain expansion and less physical labor. So maybe these abductions aren't aliens studying us. Maybe they're our descendants, coming back to study, or even fix, their ancestors. And those genetic experiments abductees describe? That could be future humans trying to maintain or repair their DNA by splicing it with ours. Narrator. And suddenly, the idea of a little gray guy saying, "I'm your great-great-great-grandkid, now hold still while I take your blood sample," feels a lot less alien. Theory 4. The psychedelic hypothesis. Finally, some argue abductions might not involve physical travel at all, but altered states of consciousness. Abductees often describe a dreamlike quality, telepathic communication, and strange downloads of information. These experiences overlap with accounts from people who've used powerful psychedelics like DMT. Could abductions be encounters with real entities, but in a different state of reality, one we don't normally access? It sounds wild, but even serious scientists like Dr. Rick Strassman have explored this, documenting how DMT users consistently describe encounters with beings in another realm. So maybe abductions aren't happening in bedrooms or forests. Maybe they're happening in the mind, but with real, external entities. The Pentagon connection. And here's where the hard data collides with the weird. In recent years, the US government has confirmed the existence of UFOs, now called UAPs, that defy physics. Objects that accelerate instantly, change direction without inertia, and dive into the ocean without resistance. So while the government hasn't admitted to aliens abducting people, it has admitted something is out there, and we don't know what it is. Narrator. Which is basically the government's way of saying, yeah, there are UFOs, we have no clue what they're doing, anyway, don't forget to pay your taxes. Part 4. Cultural impact and why people believe. Alien abductions aren't just personal experiences, they've become cultural icons. Movies like Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Fire in the Sky terrified audiences. TV shows like The X-Files turned alien abductions into mainstream entertainment. Even cartoons poke fun at them. Remember The Simpsons' Kong and Kodos? But for the people who live through it, this isn't entertainment. It's trauma. There are actual support groups for abductees, where people gather to share their stories, compare details, and seek comfort. Psychologists studying abductees have found that, while some cases can be explained by sleep paralysis or suggestibility, many abductees are otherwise healthy, stable individuals. They're not crazy. They genuinely believe something happened. And that's important. Because whether or not aliens are real, the belief is real, and it changes people's lives. Comedic beat. Narrator. Imagine sitting in therapy. So what brings you in today? Well, doc, little gray men put a tracking device in my nose. That's either the start of the weirdest therapy session ever, or the most honest. Part 5. The hidden clues in the details. Now, let's get back to the question we started with. What do abduction stories reveal about alien origins? When we compare cases across decades and continents, we see consistent patterns. Obsession with human reproduction. Abductees often describe experiments involving sperm, eggs, or hybrid babies. Could this mean aliens are struggling with their own genetics? Or are they blending their DNA with ours for some larger purpose? Environmental warnings. Many abductees report being shown visions of Earth in crisis, nuclear war, environmental collapse, famine. Are aliens warning us not to make the same mistakes they did? Or are they just really dramatic environmentalists? Consistent technology. The crafts, the beams of light, the sterile medical environments, they're reported the same way, again and again. If this were fantasy or imagination, why would thousands of people hallucinate the same thing? Taken together, these details paint a picture of beings deeply invested in humanity's survival, or at least in our biology. Narrator, serious, slow. Maybe these aren't just visitors. Maybe they're caretakers. Or maybe, just maybe, they're family. Conclusion, final 3 minutes. So what do we make of all this? On one hand, skeptics say alien abductions are just dreams, sleep paralysis, or cultural myths. On the other hand, the sheer consistency across thousands of reports, from loggers in Arizona to farmers in Brazil, suggests something more. And maybe that, something more, isn't just about them. Maybe it's about us. Because if aliens are studying us, warning us, even blending their DNA with ours, then maybe they're not strangers from another galaxy at all. Maybe they're connected to our past, or our future. Comedic beat, light tone. Narrator. And if any aliens are watching this video right now, listen. Next time, skip the abduction and just send us a calendar invite. We'll bring snacks.